Welcome to Mamamia Out Loud. It's what women are actually talking about on Monday, December the 1st. I'm Holly Wainwright.
I'm Amelia Lester.
And I'm Jessie Stevens.
And here's what's made our agenda for today. Oprah Winfrey is getting all kinds of attention for her big special about going no contact with your family. But is it all kind of Oprah's fault?
And the Prime Minister got married on the weekend. We have some not so scurrilous gossip from the event. And I also want to tell you why his wedding passes the pub test.
And the Creator of the Year at the TikTok Awards is a beloved father of 4 who shares his kids regularly online. Are we harder on women who feature their kids in content? Or is it just the type of content these creators are making?
Collagen is everywhere in skincare right now. But with Dr. Lewin's Collagen Surge Plumping Pearls, you can really see the difference. A gel with actual collagen pearls, the results speak for themselves. 84% of Australian women felt their skin was noticeably plumper after just 1 hour. Dr. Lewin's, it's skincare that's made for the Australian woman.
But first,
In case you missed it, and you probably did because there were only 80 guests, the Prime Minister got married on the weekend. Anthony Albanese married Jodie Hayden at the Lodge in Canberra. The wedding took place in the afternoon, and about 4:20 p.m. on Saturday afternoon, the song Signed, Sealed, Delivered by Stevie Wonder was heard wafting from the lodge as they walked back down the aisle together after exchanging their vows. Now, I think this is lovely.
Me too. My mum asked me if I was invited and I was like, Mum, you vastly overestimate my importance and influence. But keep going.
A lot of a lot of Labor front benchers weren't even invited. It was very select. Apparently they had originally decided they were going to invite about 300 people, but then they whittled it down to about 80.
and 80 is a smallish wedding.
It's hard. And I think that who do you invite from your workplace is always an incredibly contentious question.
Well, I always think about weddings in terms of almost rings, right? So you go, okay, I've got my close friends, I've got these, and then you kind of get to a point and you go, you're too far outside the circle. This doesn't work. And sometimes it's easier to exclude a whole faction of people rather than pick and choose.
Faction being the word.
Yep, faction being the word.
I love that they kept it small because it makes it seem very real. I think he hit the tone right. Do we agree? Do we think he got... Because imagine the drama. We're going to talk about that, but imagine the pressure on getting it right when you're marrying the Prime Minister.
And waking up, rolling over on the morning of your wedding day and checking the news and going, please, 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 please.
Yes.
Don't make a war have broken out. Like, just make it a quiet news day so that my wedding doesn't look tone deaf. Amelia, did I miss it? Did we know this was coming?
No one knew it was coming. It was really kept under wraps. Apparently, the Prime Minister was being interviewed last week by Behind the News. Remember BTN, that kids' news show?
Yeah.
And the kids were asking him all sorts of questions. And then the principal asked him if he was going to get married anytime soon. And there was something in the response that did make them apparently wonder. But it was very secret. And in part, this was because there were evidently some security concerns around it. And that was it's partly been speculated that's why it wasn't at Kirribilli House, which of course has the water views. No offence, Canberra, but it does have the water views. And that's because the lodge has very high walls, so they figured it would be easier to control and monitor for security reasons.
Apparently, when people did start getting the wind of it after that principal, the Catholic school principal made everybody's antennae go up, as Amelia said. The Herald reports that news editors across the nation were warned off running any preview stories under security fears. And the ones who pushed back received a follow-up phone call from security agencies saying, don't you dare. And it seems that they listened. Everybody
Everyone
did.
deserves a wedding without protests outside.
It also had no phones, which is very modern of them. There was no social media hashtag that they asked you to use on Instagram or anything. They did say you have to leave your phones at the door.
So the dress would have been like there was going to be a spotlight on the dress, right?
Yeah.
Because she could have, they probably could have afforded, I don't know, what are the fancy brands? Versace, I don't.
The dress is Romance Was Born, which is very cool label. Do you remember, Jessie, when Zoe Foster-Blake wore Gucci to the Logies once and the world went mad? Australia went mad and went, what? There are no Australian designers good enough for you now that you're so fancy? Like, imagine if Zoe Foster-Blake can't wear Gucci to the Logies. Imagine if the Prime Minister's wife had chosen an international brand to get married in.
So
this is the level of things she would have had to go through.
She had to wear Australian, but at the same time, Australian designers are rightfully pricey because it's made here and materials and da-da-da. So she had to choose an Australian designer who wasn't expensive and wasn't flaunting wealth and saying,
no flaunting allowed.
It wasn't studded with diamonds or like
So
it was Romance Was Born, which is a very cool,
beautiful brand.
Very
a bit edgy,
cool.
right?
Very edgy, very cool. It's kind of the thing I love about them is that Albo is such a Gen Xer. He's an old Gen Xer. He's 62. Like,
I think that's allowed.
He's allowed. He still likes to hold on to his, like, I'm from the inner west and I go to the pub, and they had beers with their faces on them.
Well, their first date was at a brewery, so that was a little bit of a throwback.
And he DJs, as we know. So it's like Romance Was Born is like, it's cool, but it's not like 25-year-old influencer cool. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I think they nailed that bit.
I was also interested in the guest list because my first question was Kyle Sandilands there? And the reason I needed to know was because Albo was famously invited to Kyle's wedding. He went with Chris Minns, and I thought it's always awkward when you've been invited to that wedding, which was very Trumpian in some ways.
That was the Trumpian wedding that Albo could have had if he was a different human.
That's why he needed them to publish 80 guests, so that Kyle got the memo. You were number 81.
Yeah.
It was just that you didn't quite make the cut.
The dog wore a dress. What did we think about that?
Loved it.
Because there was a 5-year-old flower girl who was Jodie's niece.
Yep.
And she and the dog wore matching dresses.
Toto. Yes. So
I didn't know that Toto was a dress kind of dog.
Yeah. Anyone who has a dog that they can train to behave and perform a duty on their wedding day deserves a medal.
Apparently Toto got a bit of stage fright.
No.
Apparently it was a bit touch and go as to whether Toto was going to make it down the aisle.
Oh, Toto.
They didn't have best man, best women. They didn't do any of that. They just had themselves.
Which I approve of. I'm on the record as saying wedding parties are out of control.
I have a big question. This is my new Roman Empire. They're going on a honeymoon in Australia, right?
But can I add a little caveat to that? Yeah. They went overseas last month or quite recently to supposedly plan the wedding. So, there's some budget here of what honeymoons constitute.
So they're going on a honeymoon. It has to be Australia, I suppose, right? Now, it's their honeymoon. They want to go somewhere fancy. But at the same time,
can't be
cost
too
of
fancy.
living can't be too fancy. All I do is think about where they're going.
They are.
Because where they want to go.
Don't blow their security.
Where they want to go is Qualia.
Yeah, but where they do have to go is probably a caravan park.
Or I went Ningaloo.
Oh, they could go there.
I think they could
I've
do
been
Ningaloo.
there this year. It's stunning. It's not.
No,
it's like,
WA is safe labour. I think it's going to be Queensland. But yeah, where is anyone's guess?
This is your deep political instincts telling you that.
Magnetic Island.
No, they're going to go somewhere. They're going to go Lizard Island. They're going to go.
No, that's too shishi. I think it's Gold Coast.
No, I mean, nothing wrong with the Gold Coast, but they've got to go somewhere remote and quiet.
And he's going to want to do a DJ set somewhere.
Yeah.
Do you think he gets to turn his phone off? This is what I said to Brent. I was like, imagine being Jodie, who has her own job and all those things. Imagine being married to the Prime Minister. Like, you've got to work out whether or not, your drinks are too expensive or whatever at the wedding. But also, does he ever get to turn his phone off on the honeymoon, even for 24 hours? What do you think?
It's a good question.
Because I think it would be tough being married to the Prime Minister, right?
Not for 24 hours. I think
I might have waited till he got voted out.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and it's an interesting part in the cycle, right? Because by the time there's another election, they will have forgotten about the wedding, right? They had to time it to kind of go.
The timing was exquisite, and he had a good year. I think this time of year he maybe waited for a few foreign policy things to chill. Like
I think you're right. I think they're watching the sunset in Broome right now. I think they are. I think then they're on a camel. They've got all that stuff sorted out.
Do you think we'll get some pics?
I reckon we'll get one pic. So he posted, I saw this on my feed. I must have had a tingling sense that Albo had news for me.
Because you checked Albo's Insta.
And there's Albo, and it just said married. It was very cool. One picture, married. And I showed my children and I went, how cute is this? The Prime Minister's got married. And they both just went, yeah, hate him, social media ban, yuck. I was like, let it go. Let it go. The man is happy. He's allowed to be happy. And they're like, he's on social media. It's all right for him.
Well, the man is
63. He's
He's earned it.
I think we'll get one sunset and broom picture.
Nah, I'm going far north Queensland. That's my money.
Australia's having a good weekend. Not only did we have a very cool prime ministerial wedding, the BBC reported it, thought it was very tasteful. Oh, I know. Look at that. They obviously hadn't seen the matching beer cans at that point. Anyway, not only do we have that, but we also have the man that the entire universe is pointing at and saying, this is what we need more of. And it is one Robert Irwin. On the weekend, there was an article in the New York Times, if you don't mind, called Robert Irwin is Actually That Nice. And in it, journalist Ashley Spencer writes, fans, and there are many, have praised Mr. Irwin as a beacon of positive masculinity for his vulnerability. He makes no attempt to appear cool or aloof. He often throws his head back in full-throated laughter, and he gleefully celebrates everyone around him. So we have arrived at a place, friends, where one of the most adored men in the world, he just won Dancing with the Stars, he's everywhere you look, grew up in a zoo on the Sunshine Coast. Jessie, what is it about Robert Irwin that is the beacon of positive masculinity?
That man, when I was doing a bit of work with Channel 10 through the project, he obviously had started hosting I'm a Celebrity and had come up on, he'd done a few stints and stuff on the project. I never heard a single bad word about that man.
Really?
He was universally loved. They all said that
What did they say about you?
That is such a good question, Amelia. I was on my best behaviour hearing that information. And they were like, he's just so charismatic and happy all the time. I was like, is he? He is just so good at what he does. And he was spotted and they kind of went on, this man is actually talent. And when he went on to do I'm a Celebrity, I didn't know this, but he said to them, I'm sure I read this in the New York Times article, that he only agreed to it if they agreed to stop serving native wildlife in its eating challenges. So he had his line where he just went, yeah, I'll do it, but just don't do that. He is, the other detail in that profile was, did you see the footage of Prince William calling him?
Yeah.
To basically wish him good luck on Dancing with the Stars.
That's what I mean about the universal adoration. Royalty is beaming in to wish him good luck. The New York Times is writing gushes. Amelia, you have an understanding of what Americans like about Australians.
Yes.
What's going on here?
Yeah, it's interesting. There was this really, a quote that stood out to me in the article came from, I think his mum. She said, he's what Tom Cruise wishes he was. And the reason
22.
The reason I thought that was interesting is because he seems genuinely relaxed in front of the camera.
Yes.
Which I think we take to mean he's a good guy, and he sounds like a good guy, but he does telegraph genuine relaxation in front of a camera, and it's like almost a movie star quality, which is I think why his mum brought in Tom Cruise.
Do you think we like that? Because that's such a good point. If you can appear relaxed in front of the camera, it makes you quite likable. Do you think that's because it kind of suggests you have nothing to hide?
Yeah, I think so. I think we sort of see it as a proxy for someone who's honest and reliable and upstanding. And then I was thinking about why he would be relaxed, and it's because he's been in front of cameras since he was born. Yes. I was reminded in this article that he was filmed as a newborn in the delivery room because, of course, his father was already a celebrity. And then just a few weeks after that, there was this big uproar because his father was holding him in one arm while feeding a crocodile in the other. So if you're already having that experience in front of the camera when you're 4 weeks old, you're probably able to convey a lot of relaxation when you get older.
It's so interesting though, isn't it? Because for some kids who've grown up with that kind of fame following them around, particularly a big law, like with Steve Irwin, who obviously tragically died so young, you can go one of two ways. It can either make you very private and very like, I hate these people who are always trying to get into my life, or to your point, it can make you just relax and see it for what it is in terms of doing good with that.
It's like Prince Harry is sort of the first example.
That's why Prince William called. He was like, could you have a word with Harry for me?
I want a parenting book written by Terry.
Yes.
I think Terry knows exactly what she's doing. What a brilliant mother. I cannot watch Robert Irwin do anything without a tear in my eye because I think about how proud his father would be. So I think that's an element to it. And also, Bindi Irwin won 10 years ago, Dancing with the Stars.
Did she?
Yes, 10 years ago. And now Robert Irwin has won. Is it also because Americans can lay a little bit of claim through Terry? Like, yes, he's Australian, but he's also half theirs.
Yeah.
So they can kind of
He's
go,
like Mel Gibson, but better.
Exactly. But without the controversy.
Clearly, we need both a parenting book and a ballroom dancing guide by Terry because she's raised 2 dancers.
I'm sorry, also a third book, a marriage book, because you know the clip that goes viral on the internet every 6 months or so depicts Terry and Steve being interviewed, and the way that Terry looks at Steve has almost become an internet meme because she looks at him in such a sort of adoring and loving way. So Terry just needs to advise us all.
Clearly, what would Terry Irwin do? Everyone is talking about an episode of the Oprah Winfrey Show, which makes me feel 15 years old. Oprah did a special on her podcast, which is actually a whole TV show on the YouTube platform. It's very funny what gets called a podcast now. And it's exactly like the old Oprah Winfrey Show, this particular
Is
episode.
it still Super Soul Conversations? Or
No,
is it a new
it's
one?
different. This is the Oprah Show. And so this one, and I haven't watched many, so I don't know if they're all the same, but I didn't watch it. I listened to it, but I should have watched it because it was made for watching. In that, just like the old Oprah Show, there's a studio audience who will have some experience in the topic. There's a panel of experts. So she had 3 psychologists who had expertise and had written books about it. And then you've got a hand-picked group of people who all like have a story to tell you. And this topic was all about family estrangement and particularly how the no contact contagion has taken over TikTok and people's lives. Oprah says she was inspired to do it by the story of a nameless friend. This is what she said.
A friend of mine called me recently, distraught over the fact that her grown daughter, whom she thought she had a really great relationship with and had recently just gone to dinner with, sent her a message saying, I'm no longer going to be in contact with you. Please do not try to reach me. She thought something had happened to her child, that perhaps she'd been kidnapped. And realized shortly after sending authorities to see if her daughter was okay, that it was true that her daughter no longer wanted to have contact with her.
So after that story, Oprah said she was inspired to do this, found that the no contact thing was massive. And so we end up with this special where we get all the experts. There are lots of stories on it. Some of them are amazing. I'll tell you later. But some people got a little bit sniffy about the idea of Oprah being like, oh, there's this thing called family estrangement and it's a trend now and all the young people are doing it. What's wrong with the young people? In particular, this conservative commentator called Tanya Kazal, who is very much about family rehabilitation, I guess you'd say, posted this Instagram that got quite a lot of traction of like, why is Oprah surprised about this?
So now Oprah is shocked by the aftermath of estrangement after being one of the biggest voices pushing it for decades. Oprah, the biggest plot twist in the entire family estrangement crisis. While everyone is applauding her for finally discussing estrangement, very few look at the irony and the contradiction. Oprah was one of the strongest voices pushing the normalization of family cutoffs, and not by accident, publicly, repeatedly, and openly. And this started as far back as the 90s.
So Oprah obviously was one of the first TV shows, and it's hard to overstate the influence of her at the time. 48 million Americans used to watch that show a week. Like, that is wild. And she was very much responsible for a lot of the mainstreaming of the therapy talk that we're all very conversant in now. What did we think about this? Let's blame Oprah for exactly what she's talking about.
Can I ask you, I didn't realize that commentator that we just heard from is quote unquote conservative. Is that because there's like a political overlay onto this estrangement
when I say
issue?
Conservative, I guess I probably mean she's like a Christian conservative family values person. Oh, but I think there definitely is, because I think that the conservative overlay on this issue is that the TikTok snowflake generation can't deal with conflict. in that it's sort of seen as a bit of a generational schism.
Well, I'm so glad you raised that, because I do have to admit I look at this a bit cynically from Oprah's perspective here. If you think about the fact that there might be a business reason for her to suddenly cotton onto the dangers of family estrangement, I think it's got to do with the age of her fan base. So she's been seeking a younger audience for a really long time now. I saw a 2012 New York Times article called Oprah at a Crossroads, 2012, which said that she was worried about her audience aging out of her show and not being interested anymore. The median age of her audience then was 49. So if you do the maths on that, that means that her fan base are aging out of being mothers and aging into being grandmothers. And they are the people who do not want to be estranged from this quote unquote younger generation. It's a business move on Oprah's part.
Yeah, okay. Because the one thing I kept asking, hearing that criticism was, hang on, did Oprah push estrangement? And I consumed a lot of Oprah.
Did you?
In the 90s
I was going to
and early
ask
2000s.
what each of your experiences were with it.
Amounts.
Because I basically watched it when I was chucking a sickie and staying home from school.
I chucked a lot of sickies.
Yeah, got it. So you know a lot.
Yeah, so I would do my Dr. Phil, my Oprah, my Ready, Steady, Cook.
Yeah. And Phil Donahue.
I didn't do Phil.
Okay. It's an elder millennial thing.
No. It was really big on Oprah, and every now and then you just got a really good one. And while she popularized terms maybe like toxic and I think narcissism and those sorts of things, and interviewed psychologists, I wouldn't say she was encouraging people to go no contact. She was about protecting your peace, and she had obviously had really complicated family dynamics that she was honest about. But what I struggle with when it comes to talking about family estrangement as a cultural trend is that it isn't one thing. It is millions of painful stories that vary from abuse to neglect to maybe it is something that you or I would see as small. But to lump them all in together and to suggest that rehabilitation is ideal for everyone is also sugarcoating it. Like, I think that it's unrealistic. And so I find that as a cultural war issue, I find it irritating.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean, but I also think that you can't. So Oprah starts this by saying that 1/3 of Americans now say that they are estranged from a family member. Now, that could mean their sister, their uncle. It doesn't have to mean their parents, but that is a lot. And there is no question that this is a big trend. Like #NoContact on TikTok, lots of advice out there about how to do it, how to pull it off. People like, get ready with me while I go and tell my mom no contact. Like, and also from the other side, parents who've had this happen to them, their kids go no contact, making a lot of content about it, which obviously is new in Oprah world. To your point about why she would do it, Amelia, to me it seems like a perfect classic Oprah topic, because you can get all the sides in the room and have them talk about it. It's not like Oprah was going, hey, I think it's great, or hey, I think it's bad. She was just saying, let's talk about it. And the only thing I found disingenuous is she did keep saying, oh, in my day, we just had to put up with all this stuff, which is a very common sort of boomerish argument. But I want to play you a little grab from one of the experts on this panel. She is a woman called Dr. Lindsay Gibson, and she's written books about emotionally immature parents. And basically, the argument here, because as you've said, Jessie, it is so complex why people estrange their parents or decide not to talk to them anymore. And everyone listening to us right now would have such different experiences of their parental situation. But Dr. Lindsay Gibson kind of says that part of this is about a generation of people who are kind of therapized and understand a little bit about how to protect their emotional peace, and people who don't. But her other argument is that life has just become too stressful for difficult relationships. This is what she said.
We don't have the energy to put into relationships where someone is going to be continually pushing back and making us feel that what is going on inside us is not valid or is not true in some way. This old way of the respect for the role itself, I think, for the role of the parent or the authority figure.
Honor thy father and thy mother.
Yes, exactly. Yes, it says honor them. It doesn't say obey them, agree with them, do whatever they say, make them the most important person in the relationship. So those days of the role trumping everything else are gone. People do not have the energy now to sustain a relationship that is draining or difficult or constantly conflictual.
Her point was that she started that point by saying life has become too stressful, like in general. Too much is being asked from us all the time. And so our batteries are drained when it comes to dealing with complicated relationships, and that's part of why there's a growing trend to simplify. What do you think about that?
I think that's an interesting point. I also have seen a lot of commentary recently about the structure of therapy and how there was a big push in therapy to sit down, to go back through childhood, to go, what was your relationship with your parents like, attachment, da-da-da-da-da, and not to necessarily blame that, but to understand yourself through the prism of childhood relationships, which can make you look at your parents in a way that can be very, very critical. I reckon too that the reason that this has blown up now is because Christmas is around the corner, and most families, I would say, are going to have a few empty seats. Like whether it's estrangement or it's conflict or whatever it is, it's a pain point in so many families. And to the point about the boomer perspective or even the Oprah perspective, I was at Tim Minchin, he has a show, and I went over the weekend, and he made this point about adulthood. And as you get older, you realise that your shit parents, his words, not mine, your shit parents were just the victim of other shit parents, and they were the victim of probably more shit parents. And parenting is just holding a sieve and trying to keep the mental illness and generational trauma out and let the good bits kind of filter down. And we all fail at that. And I thought sometimes what's lacking in this, and when I hear, TikToks about parental estrangement or whatever, what I do think is lacking is a bit of compassion for how, your parents were parented, or the experience. That's what happens when you call someone toxic or narcissistic, that it just means that there's no room for empathy in their own structures and how they were raised.
You're very right about the seasonal nature of this, because I also saw today, and I know it's my algorithm too, Mel Robbins was there talking about how to deal with parents who drive you crazy, and she was saying the most important, which she would say, this being the queen of let them, but the most important thing is to realise you can't change them. Like people who are really established in their dynamic, and maybe you're all day, every day going, my parents' marriage dynamic is so screwed. Yeah. Why can't they see how screwed it is? Why won't they change
Stop
it?
trying to change
and she's
them.
like, they are not going to change. The only thing you can change is how you relate to it. And I guess that's one of the things that brings you right back to, well, one of the ways I can relate to it is to not to go to Christmas dinner and be driven crazy by it. And then that's where you're back in this whole soup.
Yeah, and I also think it is a soup that Oprah did have a hand in creating. Jessie, you mentioned before that you're not sure whether she tackled family estrangement head on her show. And as we've established, you're the authority on her show much more than I am, because I was not as convincing at chucking sickies as you. But the therapization of speech is something that came from Oprah. So look at that word toxic that we mentioned. That word, the problem with that word is that it says that someone is doing something to you. It's not a relationship dynamic. It's that a person is toxic and therefore incapable of growing or modifying their behavior in any way. And I was just curious as to the extent to which Oprah has pushed that word. So I did a search on Oprah's website for that word. That word is used countless times on her website, hundreds of times on her website, in fact. Headlines like 3 ways to ward off toxic people. Is your family toxic? Confront your toxic relationships. Toxic does not mean that you can work with each other and find common ground. It means that, like a toxic chemical, it has to be purged. It has to be removed from your life.
And one of you is right and one of you is wrong. And one thing that I have learned from listening to This Is Why We Fight, the Mamamia podcast, and I've thought it recently. I was in an interpersonal conflict situation, and I thought, if I sat down with that therapist
she would not look me in the eye and say, Jessie, you are so right. You are so right, and she is so wrong. What she would do is she would look at us and go, this dynamic is slightly broken, and there are things that both of you can do. And look, as we kind of said, like abuse, neglect, put that to the side.
Absolutely.
But in a lot of relationships, it is a dynamic rather than a sort of victim-perpetrator mentality, which maybe we've internalized a bit.
I agree. I also think, though, the question of whether or not Oprah is culpable in this, your point is so right, Amelia, but if you think about the time that she was at her peak influence, and as I said, 48 million Americans were watching her, most of those people would have had no access to therapy, right? That 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we did not talk in the way that we talk now about boundaries, about, protecting your peace and all those things. And there's no question that Oprah was part of that. Is that a wholesale bad thing or a wholesale good thing, right? That now a much broader slice of the population has access to this kind of understanding of relationships. Maybe it's a bad thing when it all gets filtered down to a TikTok hashtag, or maybe it's a good thing because we're putting up with less nonsense.
I think we've all become very captive to therapy speak, and I am not exempt from that. I remember I was going through an interpersonal conflict, crazy as it is to imagine that I would ever have conflict with someone, but I did. And this person is someone who is close to me but does not listen to this podcast. And I spoke to a friend who is a therapist about what to do. And I said, I just feel I need to hold my boundaries with this person. And my therapist friend said to me respectfully, you are full of shit.
Did you learn that on
boundaries
Oprah?
is not just a kind of like catch-all for not having responsibilities or obligations to other people and not being asked to see it from their perspective. And she just gently told me that I didn't know what I was talking about. Touche.
I love that we all need a friend who'll say respectfully, you're full of shit.
Last week, the 5th annual TikTok Awards took place in Sydney, and it looked like a total vibe. Were you ladies invited?
I was not. Some of our work friends were invited.
Oh, they went. It looked great.
They looked like they had a really good time. They had my favourite song,
Kelly
you know what
Holiday
I'm going to
one,
say.
yeah. And the Wiggles were dancing. Did you see that?
What's Holly's favourite song?
Dancing too.
I didn't get the
You didn't get this?
Great song. The Wiggles were involved. And then Jonathan Bailey, World's Sexiest Man, showed up.
How was he there?
I feel like he's everywhere.
That was just
Magical.
very exciting. The biggest award is the Creator of the Year. And this year it was awarded to a man I hadn't heard of before. He goes by the name of Havea676 or Havea Mantangi. He is the first Pacific Islander to win the award. And even from the Logies to the Arias, to have a Pacific Islander win an award like that, I think was really exciting because that demographic is incredibly underrepresented when it comes to the arts, entertainment, absolutely something to celebrate. The award is decided by a public vote, and of all the awards this year, there were more than 6 million votes.
Wow.
And it was broadcast across TikTok and everything. There's an argument that way more people watch this than probably the Logies and the Arias combined.
I got home that day and my daughter was like, did you go to the TikTok Awards?
wow.
Are you going to watch the TikTok Awards? I struggled to get her and explain to her what the Oscars is.
Yeah.
She knew exactly what this was.
So,
Although she won't in 2 weeks' time.
over the weekend, an outlouder made a very astute observation in the group that I have been desperate to discuss with you both. She said, big fan of Havea's content, but she said it is centered around his kids. He's got 4 daughters, and do we feel differently about fathers who share their kids online as opposed to mothers? So a previous winner of Creator of the Year is Indy Clinton. She has 3 kids, and she shares a lot about parenting. But there has been an increasing chorus of criticism. It's getting louder and louder, particularly towards mothers who share pictures, videos of their kids online, especially I think in light of the upcoming social media ban. It's kind of changed the tone a bit. But if you go on Havea's profile and read the comments, and this could be moderation, but you just don't see those types of comments, right? What do we
So
reckon?
interesting.
Are our standards for men and women different?
Oh, I don't think so.
Mothers and fathers.
Let me think about that.
No, I mean, obviously I think they probably are, but the question is why?
Yeah.
And also the question is it something to do with the type of content that dads share? Carefree, fun
I was going to
dads.
say, do you mean like funny songs and TikTok challenges and
like,
dancing?
Less complaining about laundry or vomit or like, things like that, and more doing. I saw on Havea 676's page. That's not the right terminology, is it? On his page,
Profile. Let's go profile.
on his profile, that the most recent content concerning his kids was a very cute video of two of his daughters making a prank call to their grandmother.
Yes.
Now, that's extremely cute. It's also probably not something that most mums are going to share, a prank call issued to her mother
Right, God,
by
because-
her children.
Because
I don't
we
think
know
so.
what the comments are going to say.
And that's so the content, for context, if you've never come across his account, is pranks, scaring them, but like in a really wholesome way. Or like, he's got a little girl who's eating cereal and he comes over and starts eating it and she's just bamboozled by
Again,
why
a
he
mother
would do that.
would never do that.
No, it's
She's the one pouring the cereal.
it's very light
so
and it is
interesting.
genuinely funny. Like a very, very good content.
So there are quite a few of these guys on the internet. Dads having a good time with their kids and making lots of moolah out of it, right? With seemingly little criticism. And I'm here for it. I think that although we all know, and I'm sure, that one of us has plenty of stats about it, it's not great to show your kids all over social media. However, if children are the center of your life and parenting is most of your world, seeing content based around it is really important, I think. Like, I just do. I think that it reflects a reality, and ideally you want a diverse section of that shows the joy and the fun and the frustration and the hardships, because that's what parenting is, right? It's all those things. But these guys are all what we know as Disneyland dads. And there are plenty of mothers I know who are driven crazy by this stuff, because they're like, I'm there crying on TikTok, not me personally, crying on TikTok because my child's having a meltdown and I'm trying to get them to brush their teeth and go to school, and I'm expressing the difficulty of that. And then the Disneyland dad is just, he's, in the traditional model, he's back from work and he's like, let's all go to the park, kids, or I'm taking you all out this weekend. It's particularly pervasive in separated families, the Disneyland dad idea that dad's always a good time and mum's always doing the hard work. And some of this content falls into those stereotypical categories. But I don't know. I think that ideally you've got both. I don't think that all parenting content should just be shiny and joyful and happy dances, because that's not what parenting's like. But also we can all see the problems with kids having meltdowns.
Yeah. Or is this indicative of, there's a lot of stats about the division of millennial parenting and how millennial dads are doing more parenting than, ever before in history. As it does get more equal.
Wait, did a millennial dad write that study?
Definitely. While looking after his
Luke
children.
told you that, didn't he?
Luke is entertaining. They're doing more parenting, spending more hands-on time with their kids. It's not equal. Let's not pretend it is. But is it sort of starting to get there? Domestic work housework's another thing.
And it's not fun to film.
Yeah, exactly right. That's not so fun to film. But as it gets more equal, are we going to see dads share more and more content? Because even the meltdown or the getting your kid to brush their teeth, Havea might be experiencing that too. He just chooses not to get his phone out and film it, right? And so when I looked at his content, I've got no issue with people sharing images of their kids online. That's something that I just go, I reckon you love your kid more than I love your kid. And I reckon you know what's best for your kid. Like, I just trust, your kids, you know how comfortable they are with it. His kids are also a little bit older. He has one who's young, like a toddler, but they're very consenting and involved and know they're being filmed, which I think makes people feel different. The content that I must say stops me sometimes is when there is a child who appears not to be enjoying being filmed. Often it's an adolescent who is in the background, and I'm talking content creators. I think it's very different if you're on a private profile. But
the sullen teenagers A-okay on a private
everywhere.
profile.
Every photo album is full of sullen teenagers who didn't want their photo taken. That I don't love, and I must say that. And I guess I don't have an answer as to how you talk about this stage of parenting, but meltdowns, screaming, worst moments, getting the camera out. Yeah. I get it. I get that you need solidarity. I get that you might feel like you need help. You've got no one to turn to. But I think about the dignity of that child, and that sometimes does make me uncomfortable, and he doesn't do that.
I think Holly, I agree with that, Jessie, but I think Holly said something really important before that I want to reiterate and highlight, which is you said that people share this content both to feel less alone themselves, but also it makes other people feel less alone.
I consume a lot of it.
That has been lost in the moral panic about sharing children online. As you said, Holly, we have lots of stats and facts about why you shouldn't be sharing your children online, say many experts, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the fact that for many parents, this is a bit of a lifeline for them, both the posting and the consuming of the content. And I'm wondering, as more men get into the act of public parenting, sharenting online, maybe we'll all calm down about it a little bit, because when both men and women are doing it, and it's not just seen as something that women do, maybe we'll all start to be a little bit more accepting of the impulse.
That I hope so, because one of the things that I think is one of the reasons why women, and I know there are lots of female family creators out there who do lots of fun stuff on the internet. I'm not suggesting that there aren't, but you are more likely to see the stuff we were just talking about, the meltdowns. Like I saw one from a very popular family creator before I came in here, where she'd filmed herself taking the iPad off her, I want to say 5-year-old, and her 5-year-old having a full-on meltdown about it. And this person had 3 million followers. And it was uncomfortable to watch for the reasons you've already spelled out, Jessie. But also it was, I'm obviously way beyond that stage now, but if I was back where I was once, I would have felt, it would have made me feel really good. Not good like as in, your life sucks like mine does, but good in that like I thought I was the only terrible parent who sometimes lets my kid have the iPad too long, and then I get punished for it by the awful meltdown they have when I take it off them. It would have made me feel less alone. And I think the problem is, if women's family content was all just like Disneyland dadding, like having great times doing challenges, a lot of the commentary would be like, how do you have time to learn dances with your children? Like, my life isn't that easy. Don't you have to get them to school? Aren't you doing it? Like, the judgment that would come at them, and probably from other women, that would be along the lines of basically must be nice, would be overwhelming, And I think that that's interesting, because I hope that as more dads are sharing family content, I hope they are doing it while they're actively parenting. I know, I was just thinking when you were talking about that before, Jessie, that 100 years ago when my kids were babies, Brent took time off work to do half the parental, like the first year of parental leave, right? And he used to make these ridiculous videos with the kids. He did one of Matilda like dangling from a baby harness with the music from Mission Impossible behind it, like do, 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 do. And he tickled himself so hard, like weightlifting with babies. And TikTok didn't exist. And I know that some of my mother's group friends would be like, how does he have time to do that? And I was like, I don't know, but it seems to be working for him. But I feel like if that was a mum, she'd be getting a lot of, don't you have something better to do?
Or is it just, can content be a form of play?
Yeah.
And that's
a dopamine hit.
Yeah. And a play for both. And if they both appear to be enjoying themselves and there just happens to be a camera there, then maybe we are kind of comfortable with it.
I think as soon as your kid says stop. Yeah. I wonder what happens if you've just won Content Creator of the Year and then your kids say, I don't want to do any dances today, Daddy. And he's like, have you seen this trophy? Have you seen this trophy? We will be dancing. A massive thank you for being here with us, and a massive thank you to our team for helping us put the show together. Jessie, have we got something to tell everybody? What are you wearing today?
We have a very exciting announcement in the lead up to Christmas, which is if you are watching us on YouTube or if you've seen our social videos, today I am wearing my Mamamia Out Loud t-shirt. right? And we have discounted our merch, I believe, till the 6th of December. Because if you order before then, you will get it in time for Christmas. So these T-shirts, which is the only thing that's like covering my bump at the moment.
You're modelling the most popular design, which is
has
the
a puffer fish on it.
There are a few different ones, but the puffer fish has proved most popular.
It's so good for like, you know when you want a graphic printed tee to throw on to go to the beach or whatever. It's just perfect. And it's like really good quality. $50 for a T-shirt. $20 for a tote. These are...
The totes are like chambray. They're fancy.
They are very fancy. They are the ultimate gift for the out louder in your life. We often meet out louders where they're with their mum or they're with their friends, or it's like a point of connection between people. Kris Kringle gift, Christmas Day gift, whatever it is, jump onto our website. There is a link in our show notes. Mamamia Out Loud merch, cheapest it's ever been. And yes, the sale is on right this second until December the 6th. Link in the show notes to shop.
Bye.
Bye.